record. Our thought for today, for our last one for the year, was actually right along the lines of what we've just been speaking about for 10 minutes before I hit record. And our topic was going to be how to promote your successes and share resources with others. But I think it really dovetail nicely into what we were just talking about with Beth said, this idea of kind of bringing others, I don't want to say along with us, but almost like providing a level of support to people. And I think part of that can be that idea of promoting our successes. I know that people are not thinking of that, right? Like Lauren said, people are burnt, they're done. And so when we're done, we're not automatically thinking about how successful this year was. We're thinking about, I just need to get myself out of it, right? I just need to be done. But then when you start talking about it and reflecting back on some of those successes, you realize that there were a lot of things that were done and they were done well. We had a coaching session last week that I was part of, where we asked people to share things about what was successful during this year. And it took a little while to get the group started because it just wasn't the mindset they were all in. But then when one person started sharing something, and it was, and she even acknowledged it was small, but to her, it was a win from this year. And then other people kind of jumped on and they're like, oh, I had this happen and I had this happen. And suddenly we were a half hour into a conversation and people left feeling a whole lot better than I think they felt when they got there. I'm no master at recognizing feelings, but people were not looking like they were digging the idea of being there on another Zoom call. And then it slowly worked itself into something really very positive. So I think we'll dive into that a little bit more today. Alyssa volunteered to share how to use Wakelet. You are all going to be Wakelet experts. And she did ask if she could speak first because she's got to go, imagine this, do other work. Oh.
I know. I'm going to try to jump in the rest of the call from my car as I drive to my 1 o'clock meeting. But
well, that'll be fun too. I'm all for that too. Leave the video on as you're driving. Don't participate.
No video
out the window.
No video. All you see is bright sun and 500% humidity with a high of 90. So nobody needs to see that.
That sounds like New Jersey weather right now.
Hey, it sounds like Maryland right now too.
Yeah,
exactly. All right. Well, Alyssa, we'll start with you and take as much time as you want, and then we'll go from there.
All right. So the easiest way is to share my screen, which I just did. And so what you're seeing is like the main Wakelet launch page. If you were not logged into Wakelet, this is where you would land. And my best description of Wakelet is as if Padlet and Pinterest had a baby. So if you are somebody who really likes the visual of Pinterest and you like the organizational structure of Padlet, I think you'll really like what Wakelet brings to the table. So this is the main page that you get to when you first go to wakelet.com. It gives you lots of information about ways you can do it. It's built to, not necessarily just be an education setup. Gives you lots of ideas about ways to do things. Wakelet is a completely free product. There is also a secondary website that's just at learn.wakelet.com, which I have all of these links, oddly enough, in a Wakelet that I'll post in the chat in a minute. But this is the specific to educators kind of launch page for Wakelet, and gives some great examples across this middle section of group projects. They have a lot of students that are using it. You can now have student accounts within Wakelet. They can use it to do kind of what Mike was saying, what we were discussing, like share successes. So we have some students that are doing portfolios within Wakelet that they're then using as part of their like college or job applications. Like, here are all the things that I've done. So this will go through some of the more educator-based kind of examples of things that you can do, ways that you can utilize it, other tools that it kind of interacts with, and then information on, if you go to the help center for Wakelet, you can go in and find way more information than anyone needs to have about Wakelet, but it has all of the everything you never ever could want to know. So I have this up in an incognito window because I'm logged into Wakelet. So one of the things that Wakelet does do is it allows you to have, it takes over the new tab function in Chrome, which is kind of nice because this is my new tab. This is what it looks like when I open up a new tab. It automatically goes to this Wakelet tab. And what's nice about that is a couple of things, in that you'll see it's got a list of all of the open tabs that are open on my right-hand side. So if I had 10 or 20 links open, say after an AT chat or a town hall, I could very quickly come down to the bottom and create a collection with just those tabs that are open. And it's like 3 clicks to do it. I'm going to take you in and have you look at my Wakelet, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about that. So this is what my Wakelet homepage looks like. I have 100+ collections. I have collections on everything. And some of them are just for me. Some of them are things that are like, oh, I need to go back and follow up about it. Some of them are collections for presentations that I share out. Some of them are just topical. I have an AAC one that just has 58 random AAC related things that I know I've stored in the AAC that I can go in and store and search that collection for. So in terms of some, this is a good one to see. So this is the vision and hearing tech kind of Wakelet that I put together based on a number of courses that I took, most of which were ATIA related. So you'll see it's got all of the links to the Google Docs of those handouts that's directly linked to Drive, so that I could open it up right away if I wanted to. It takes me right to the Drive view of that specific handout, right? And then as I go forward, it also, you can embed a Wakelet inside of a Wakelet, which makes people's heads spin sometimes. But so this is another Wakelet that is all about interactive tools that are accessible that I've embedded inside of this. Instead of listing out all of the possible tools that were mentioned there, it has a list of a clickable, like I could just click on this, it opens up another Wakelet, which then gives you all of the interactive and engaging tools that were mentioned during the course of all of these different things that I participated in. I'm sorry, let me pull up the chat and put over here. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, the Wakelet within a Wakelet thing. Blows people's minds a little bit. So this is that main collection. Now, a couple of the features that I love is you'll see when you look on the left-hand side that an immersive reader is built right into the product. So you can click and have any text that's there read. You'll see these are links to websites. So it gives you a little preview of what the website is, gives you a little bit of a kind of summary based on just inputting the website information. And again, I've chosen to use headings to organize it. You could just dump everything in one collection and have a collection on one thing. I'm just one of those people that really likes to have different headings that I know I can know, okay, I've got a heading that is specific to a specific technology. So if I was going to make a collection from the very brand new, I could just come here, go to create a new collection. It asks for a couple things. There's only a couple things that are actually mandatory. I'm just going to call this so that when I'm done, I can not have to do that. You can add a cover image. You don't have to. You can add from either, you can choose from Giphy from the library that's available, or upload a specific image. If you have a training image that you have on a slide, you can upload that as well. I could just go into their library and they pull from Upsplash and say, oh, that's pretty, I want that to be my cover image. It will bring that picture in, and then you can decide, do you want it to show the full image? Do you want it to hide it? Which, why would you put one if you want to hide it? Or do you want it to be halved? So that makes it a nice size to where people can see it, but it doesn't overwhelm the page, right? So then from there, this little magical plus is deceptive because it's how to add all the everything, right? So when I click that, there's a couple of options that come up here. I could paste any web address in here. If I had, let's say I was out here and I had my school district's homepage, I could copy that, just Control C it, come back over here and Control V, and it's automatically going to pull up and insert probably a very inaccessible, that's nice, a very inaccessible version of our website. Our website itself has problems, so I'm not surprised that it gave me that little hiccup. It might eventually add it, but you'll see there's all these other options over here, including adding just a text field, which is how you do those headers. So you can come in and you can tell it, I want it to be formatted as a header 1, or you can go one level deeper and have a header 2. You can have a bulleted list of text. You can have, and then align it, the basic things that you can do in any formatted. So you can come in here and put a test header. And then let's say I want to come in and I wanted to upload a PDF. You could do that. I could go into my bookmarks. I have a ton of things that are just saved in my bookmarks randomly that I didn't know where to put, that I could come and say, oh yeah, that actually belongs in this collection. And this one belongs in this collection. And just click add, and it automatically pulls those things in. Then there's this apps thing that uploads from a variety of other places. You can connect it to Twitter, so it automatically ups from Twitter. You can, from within Wakelet, add a Flipgrid video. So if I say I want to add a video, it brings up that Flipgrid framework right within Wakelet, says, you know, yes, I continue. And then it brings up the ability, which it might freak out now if I tell it to use my video and I'm in a video. Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to do. But you can import your video from Wakelet when you're not in a video recorded meeting. Again, upload from Google Drive or OneDrive if you're an Office 365 district. So from here, again, I could just add things free form that I already have available. I could go and let's say I am in my Twitter account. You will see on my tweets, there's an extra W on the side of my Twitter layout. This doesn't work on mobile, but there's an easy way to do that too. But you can just click this little W and it automatically brings up Wakelet and says, where do you want to put it? Do you want to change what's there or the description or something different? I just want to save it in my demo collection, and then it's going to save it and that little screen goes away. So if you're scrolling through your Twitter and you find things that either you want to go back to, I actually have a collection that says something like come back to or find again or something, you know, read later. You can do that very quickly. You can also do it when you're on mobile. And the way that you do that is that share button, whether you're on an iOS device or an Android device, you come up and do share. You share the tweet via something. And then one of the options that comes up on an iOS device is the ability to share it to Wakelet when you have the Wakelet app. There's an iOS app, there's an Android app. And once that app is on there, anything you can do on the web, you can do on your device. So I have Wakelet on my iPad. I have it on my Android phone. I can add to and pull up collections no matter where I am. Okay. So this little feature is nice. Now, if you're on a website where you don't happen to have that option, like there's no W on my lovely inaccessible home screen of our website, but you'll see I have this little Wakelet as an extension. I can come up and I can just left click the Wakelet and it does the same thing that little W on the Twitter does, is it brings up, here's the site. Do you want to change in that information? What collection do you want to put it in? And I just click save, or I could just save it to my bookmarks or if I'm not sure. So when I come back to my demo collection, you'll see all of those things, like it brings the tweet right in exactly as it's displayed in the Twitter feed. It's trying to bring in my school board site that's crummy and doesn't like to be accessible. But any site that you are at, you can use this, your W extension in Chrome to just drop it right in, okay? There are 3 different levels for sharing. Actually 4 if you add contributor, but you can either have a private collection that's only viewable by you. You can have an unlisted collection that is anybody who has the link can view it, but they have to have the link. Or you can have it as a public collection so that if somebody is connected to you in Wakelet, they can see that public collection, okay? So if I make that an unlisted collection, I could share that link out with you and you would be able to view it. Now, if you wanted to invite, let's say you're doing a collaborative training with a colleague, which I have done this multiple times for collections, and you want to invite somebody else to add links to that Wakelet because you're both training on the same thing, you can come up to this left side, click invite, and then there are like 3 different ways to invite collaborators. You could copy this code If they have the code, they can go onto the Wakelet website, put in the code, and they become a collaborator. You can send the QR link. You can copy this link and send it to them. Or if you're already connected on Wakelet, you can come in here and just type their name. So I know I could go in and send this collection to Hillary. She's gonna be like, why are you sending me this random collection? But so I can then decide, do I want her to be the administrator of it? Like I'm giving her full rights for everything, or do I just want her to be a contributor? So if I just want her to be a contributor, I'm just gonna click the plus and click send. It's gonna send her an invite to this demo collection, which I'll have to text her later and tell her to ignore. Okay. So then you have a couple of settings. You can change the appearance. Again, you can turn on the option of other people being able to copy your collection and build off from there. And then again, you can turn on collaboration so that anybody who has a link as a collaborator can edit, move around, change, or add things. This need help shows up almost everywhere. And you can search for answers and it will bring up the help, or you can start a chat with them. They're pretty responsive. They're based out of the UK and have people working all the time. Adam, can you invite webinar participants to a Wakelet view only? Absolutely. So as an example, I'm going to bring up this Wakelet 101 that I made as a getting started for Wakelet. And I can share that link. So here's share the collection. I can share it through any one of these means, right? So if you're working within Classroom or Teams, you could share it out by Twitter. You can have it generate just a QR code that you could put on a slide and have them scan the QR code. But I can also just copy this link that's right here, drop it in the box. Sometimes I'll make them bit.ly links just for ease of remembering what link goes to what collection on my end. But now you guys all have view access to the Wakelet on Wakelets, just to make it confusing. But that's the and again, there's a whole slew of Wakelet-y information in terms of this is a graphic they have about like ways you can add things and ways you could use it. Just basic helpful videos and information, how to create a collection from the very beginning, kind of what I went through. Templates that are available. So there are a slew of already created templates. If you're like, oh, I really like this tool, but I'm not really sure how to utilize it, you can come in and say, oh, I would like to make a lesson plan, or I'd like to make an entry or exit ticket for students, or I want to focus on mindfulness. Or like I was saying with portfolios, you can come in and there's a digital portfolio collection that these are all set up that you can make a copy of this collection, give it to a student, and have them start filling in all of the little pieces of things that need to go in the template. So this is kind of like a living resume of sorts that a student could use to kind of go through and set up their digital resume. And all of these are, if you come to the three dots, you can just make a copy of the collection as a template and keep working. But you'll see they've really done a great job of building out their education-based templates, again, both with teachers in mind and with students in mind, and looking at these are all the ways that people have built out icebreakers, or set up a blog submission or lesson plans. Like there are tons of templates out there. And then there's this whole Wakelet community. And so there are people that you can follow, which it gets a little confusing. You can follow people. And you can also create spaces, which is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day, but it's basically interactive ways to create topics, move collections together, and interact with them and have people collaborate. I'm trying to think. So this is like, I'm an ambassador for them. This is our ambassador space where you can have multiple collections. So you could create a training space that is information for your district or organization and have multiple collections within that space. You can also take a collection that you have, like this demo collection, and in one of the options for sharing, let me make it unlisted, or there's an embed code. So I can take this Wakelet and I can embed it in a website. whether that's Google Sites or WordPress or wherever, and you can basically adjust what you want it to look like over here, copy this embed code and drop it into anything that you would like in terms of on your website. Choose whether it's, they have a couple different layouts, whether it's linear or it's kind of boxed, or it's what I was showing you, kind of the more traditional kind of linear up and down version. And that gives it the ability to kind of be, like I said, embedded on a website. If you can do multiple things, it also gives you the option to export a PDF of your entire collection. So you could export an entire PDF. Sometimes it takes a little bit depending on the size of it, but basically it generates a PDF of your collection. I have used this a couple times before where a teacher wanted to put something in on wherever she was working. And here, let me bring the PDF over so you can see it literally looks exactly like what's on the website. It's just in PDF format. So then, you know, the advantage is all of these links are still linkable. You could click and link on them. You know, if you wanted to make a digital handout that wasn't a Wakelet, I guess maybe you could use the PDF for that. I'm sure there are other reasons you would do it. And let me look and see, is it confusing for students and teachers who also use Google Classroom? Most of the people I know that use Google Classroom, the teacher creates the Wakelet and then shares it into Google Classroom. So if it's an assignment they want them to do, if it's one of those templates that they want them to go fill out, let's say it's the resume or digital portfolio, if they put it into Google Classroom, it can be assigned like an assignment in Google Classroom. Or it can be shared as a go look at this and then come back and do this assignment. So most of the people who use a Google Classroom or a Canvas tend to use that share function for it to go back into. And then can you have those collections shared to a school domain similar to Flipgrid? That's a great question, Janet, and I will have to go ask because I don't know that I've ever tried to do that. But I think maybe, but I will find out for sure. Yes, Karen, let me show you in edit. When you come in, there's this layout button on the top, and there are four different layouts really. That compact view that I was showing before, that's kind of visual and has some of the content. There's a compact view that has just the tiles and descriptions. There's a grid view, and then there's what they call a mood board. Basically, the mood board gives you the ability to kind of lay things out so that it looks a little bit more like a Padlet in that regard, that mood board, where you can kind of drag things around and over. You could put them down further. You could say, oh, I really want this one to be up here and move it around. So you can move them around and have it be a little bit more visual in that regard. Other questions about Wakelet?
So I'm going to turn my mic on because I'm too lazy to type. When you make one of those spaces,
Yep.
Everybody who's part of that space is automatically a contributor to and have the ability to add to any of those boards.
You assign the permissions to the people in your space.
Okay,
so if I'm creating a space,
adjust. Okay.
Right. If I'm creating this space and I go in and I create the space, it still is asking you like to go in and say, who do you want to have contribute? Who do you, just like the same settings on an individual Wakelet, you can adjust who has membership and at what level. So I can invite a member, like I could come in and say, I'm going to invite this person I know here, Mike Murata on Wakelet, and
Right.
I can either give you contributor access or I can make you an administrator.
And that's for the whole space, or that's for each of the Wakelets within that space?
That's for the whole space as far as I know.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, there are different reasons where I'd use one versus the other, you know. Yeah. I think if I were doing kind of a compilation, I may do it in a space. And there's more information on the educator site about spaces versus collections and when you'd use which, and I believe you have the ability within a specific Like if I go back to my demo and I create a collection, then it's just like any other collection. I could say, oh, Mike, I can add a student to that collection, but they only have edit rights to this one collection and they have view rights to everything else.
Right. But then as soon as you made that other collection within that space, I had the ability to be a contributor to this one automatically.
I believe that's the case.
I would think, right? Yeah. Okay, cool.
But
awesome.
But again, there's reasons why, I haven't done a lot of spaces because I tend to build collections and share from there. But it's one of those things I want to look at next to see, is it the better way? Like you could make an AT chat space and put all the Wakelets from all the AT chats in one space. That would be one place that I could see that would use. Yes, Janet, I believe only educators, adults, and not student accounts can have access to spaces. I think you can add students at view level in a collection, but not as a full level admin or contributor in a space.
Oh, okay.
I think
but
it's part of
you could make a student-based collection within a
have
space.
edit rights. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Huh. I'm trying to compare that to like almost like in my mind, I'm thinking of a space like a Google folder and then everything that's in the folder. And that's how I'm trying to wrap my brain around it.
Right. And I will pull up, let's see. I want the little comparison page. Maybe when it first came out, there was a whole comparison page about like, what would you do? What's the difference between spaces?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try to find that and add it to the link. Oh, there's a whole video. Look at that. I'm going to share it. And I'm going to share it right to Wakelet.
What is this magic help box you're using? I've never heard of these things.
This is the Wakelet help box. It's fantastic. Because you can look very quickly at all their videos and what they want to do and where you want it to be and how you want it to add. And so I'll add that video that just kind of introduces spaces into the collection that I shared.
That's awesome.
Any other questions about Wakelet? I mean, I use it for so many things that I kind of had a hard time pulling like, okay, what are the 5 most important things for you to know about Wakelet? You'll see, I mean, I have collections again that go with trainings. I have a Jamboard collection. Anytime I see anything Jamboard, like it goes in the Jamboard collection, whether it's a good example or a video. And then this collection is also shared in other collections about, Beth and I did a whiteboard, comparison training. So I build collections for everything. Some of them are personal for me to go back and deal with. And some of them are for trainings like the ergonomic series Judy and I did. Some of them are more specific to that. And then I also sometimes just drop things in bookmarks. And for me, it's a visual bookmarking tool. You can always take a bookmark and drop it into some other collection. You can, put it in a collection or drop it in there very easily. This week, they have this huge Wakelet Community Week training going on. And I did include information in the Wakelet that you guys got about what it is and where what things you would be able to do, see, whatever in that. Let me pull that Wakelet up real quick. But there's a whole schedule of people presenting on Wakelet, how they're using Wakelet, Wakelet for social emotional. Here's the whole schedule of this week. And it kind of breaks out all the possibilities of things that are happening this week. Again, Monday through Friday, there's different trainings and different sessions happening across the day. So if you're interested in learning more, they'll all be recorded and they'll be shared out if you can't participate right then. They try to do their best doing, there's my live captions going with the video. They try to do their best knowing that they're dealing with time zones all around the world to pick medium time zones. So I'm going to stop sharing.
That's awesome. Alyssa, thank you. Is
Sure.
anyone using Wakelet and how are you using it? I know Alyssa pointed out, I use it every week for the AC chat kind of roundup. And I find it really helpful. I realize every time you do this, Alyssa, that I don't use Wakelet as much as I should. Every time. And it's the same thing. And I'm like, I should get that extension. And then when you were talking, I went to go get it and I already had it. I just didn't have it on. I'm like, oh, why don't I have that on? So now it's on. So now I'll start to use it, or I'll try.
I was a huge Diigo user for a very long time, and I still love Diigo. I still think it's a great tool. And one of the things that I really like about it is the ability to like highlight the text within it and have that be a part of what I'm capturing. But I have, in the last year, made the switch over to Wakelet in large part because of the way Alyssa has shown it in a variety of different places. And so I probably use Wakelet every day, right? I mean, I have the extension and I have it on my phone. And for me, if anybody has seen my the number of tabs that I keep open at any given time on my computer, it's the only way that does. I mean, it's already out of control, but it's the only way for me that it's not completely out of control. And one of the things that was helpful was having it like when it's my new page, like, you know, when I open a new tab, that's helpful. And I like the visual of it. And I think when I share it with other people, it's more visually appealing than the Diigo. I do wish it was easier to add it to like sometimes I want to save a resource to more than one Wakelet. And I do wish it was easier to save it to more than one location instead of having to like go back in and like save it to something else.
Right. But almost like you'd be able to pull up a list of all your Wakelets and just click the ones you wanted to add it to.
Right. I wish I could do that. Like in Diigo, I could put it in like multiple tags, but then I would change my tags. And that was part of my issue too, because I would have like randomly different tags. But I'm definitely, I mean, I am a firm believer and user of Wakelet. I need something to organize me.
Yeah, I realize I do too. And that's why I keep thinking every time I should use it a little more because it's so good. And like you said, Beth, every time I share a Wakelet with a group, they're always like, this is awesome. What is this? It's so easy to navigate through. And so that's always a good thing because, you know, sometimes when you're in something like a training or a workshop or something, and you're throwing a bunch of resources out, at some point people kind of glaze over and they're like, all right, I know you're sharing a bunch of resources. I don't know what they are and I don't have time to figure out what they are. And so they just kind of wash over them. But to be able to say, you know, like Alyssa was showing, you here it is, and everything I'm going to talk about is already there and you have it. It's kind of like when you share the slides with people and you're like, don't take notes. You have the slides. Now just listen and participate, and just giving them that one extra level. That's awesome. I don't know if Alyssa just ran to go in her car, but if she did, Alyssa, if you're in the car, thank you.
She's on there, but she's like, yeah, obviously not at her desk any longer.
No, she's on. Yeah, you on the run?
Yeah, so I was just going to say, I've started to put a slide at the beginning of every presentation that's like, don't stress, every link that's in this presentation is in this Wakelet, and I put the exact same slide at the end of my presentation so that people don't have to worry, where is it, you know, where do I go to find it, any of those pieces. They know all those links that they might think they need to save, they're all in the Wakelet.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. Such a good idea. Awesome. Alyssa, thank you if you get in the car and you can't talk. Thank you. That was awesome.
You're totally welcome. I'm in the car. I'm going to listen to the rest of the presentation. Awesome.
Very good. Do not chime in. Now we know you're in the car, so don't chime in. You have to wait till you get somewhere. All right, so as we continue on our conversation, how about thoughts about how you're going to promote your successes from this past year? What are we doing? What are some of the strategies you're using? Maybe it's a Wakelet now.
I mean, I'm a social media person, probably more than I should be. So I tend to, as I'm going. Like if I've done something that I think is kind of cool, I'll put it on social media. When I find things that other people have done that is pretty cool, I put it on social media. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter mostly. I'm not real good with LinkedIn. So I kind of like in that moment of sharing, but I do think it'd be great to figure out a way to like, man, we should all throw a party for this, right? For making it through the last 18 months or whatever.
That could be a strategy, right? That could be a strategy of how to promote success and remind people that, you know, there were good things that happened to you in these past 15 months, these past 12 months, whatever it was. And using that in some way, you know, I've been talking to teams about this idea of, even if people are not ready now to have this conversation about how great was everything, because maybe they really are completely just done. Can we collect these things now, or can we start and then think about hitting people with these, sharing these with people right in September, as soon as people start to come back? You know, because my fear is people are going to roll back into September feeling that same kind of weight of, oh, I'm back. Oh, all right. Now what? And it's half defeated already. And so is there a way we can, you know, have these little moments for success?
Yeah, or even worse, they go back and they just start doing the same old because it's back to normal.
Yeah, that is my ultimate fear that I share every time I talk to somebody, is that people will just fall back to what they did before, just because they want so bad to just kind of do this to the past year and just wash it away. And it's like, all right, well, we did that. Let's go back to school, or let's go back to doing things the way we did it. And, you know, you could argue the way things were being done weren't always the best way. So I think there were some good things that were done. You know, I spend a lot of time talking to teams about, you know, their communication strategies have really improved. And how can you keep that up? Janet, we're going to say something. I saw your mic kick on.
Yeah, you know, we were all back in April, and I think a lot of teachers kept saying, I can't wait so that we can go back to the way we, you know, back to school, the way we've always done things. And I think that you, Beth, hit it on the head of, we have to celebrate what was done well. What did we learn how to do and worked really well this year, so that we don't, in an effort to get back to normal, we don't use those new and improved ways of doing things, because we have to go back to the way we've always done things.
Right.
And that's a major fear of mine. You know,
Yeah,
if this
right.
worked really well, why are we going to stop doing it?
Yeah, we're going back to this mythical normal, Janet, that you could argue some of that normal was not great.
Right.
But yet it has kind of this, and for some people, it is just the idea that it was before all of this. And so it automatically has some kind of, you know, it's been glamorized that little bit of that, oh, this was when it was. Remember that we could be face to face and we could do things together. And oh, wasn't that awesome? Maybe, but not so much, right? Oh, I'm reading Kelly's comment about an end of the year slide deck highlighting important strategies. Yeah, right, Kel, that idea of these were the great things we figured out this year. Let's carry that over, that transition to the next year.
I think sometimes having the visual to go along with people don't have time to read long narratives.
Yeah.
And so having those snippets, images, short videos, you know, with little captions that point out really good strategies. And we've just been doing that all along the school year, and then just kind of wrapped it up with one that can get passed on to ESY staff as well as next year's staff.
Yeah. I think that's such a good idea. That it's such a, and I agree. I think there's a lot of things people don't want to read a bunch of stuff about. And that's what I think makes Flipgrid so powerful, is that it could be a nice, easy way to get people to respond, but it's really hard to get adults to respond to Flipgrid. And so while it seems like that would be a great way to do it, it's not always. And so kind of going back to what Alyssa showed with adding things to Flipgrid, there is something to be said for a Wakelet where if someone finally does respond in the Flipgrid, you could drop it in there. But you can also have these little pictures or slides or handouts or something else. I love the idea of headings when Alyssa showed that, because I like that organizational piece of Wakelet. Instead of just there could be a fear of it's just a running list that just goes on forever, which is sometimes just as bad. Giving people too many resources is just as bad as giving them none sometimes. It's just like, it becomes like, oh, well, I don't have time for that. I can't go through it. And so just finding these different modes of how to get people to respond. I've been having some success with some groups where it's just an end of the year Google form. And it really only had one question on it. It said, share something that was good this past year. And it gave them an opportunity to attach something if they wanted, a picture, a video, some kind of artifact of what somebody did. It was left wide open. It's like, just share something. And I got a lot of success with that because of that idea that the form was there. And when they opened it, it was only that one question. It was that one question with a little box and then an add button and then submit. That was it. And people were like, oh, and I mean, I got everything from 3 words. The 3 words were, it was okay. What was this past year like? It was okay. Hit submit. All right, good enough, I guess. That's good. I'm sure I could have gotten 3 worse words than that, so I'll take it. And then others, I got these really great paragraphs of stuff with some other attachments, a picture of kids doing something, a screenshot of a really good Google Meet session that they had, they were really happy about. And just so all those little things that we'll be able to go back in September and say, hey, these were great things. How can we build on this? How can we bring those back in? Yeah, interesting, right? I had another question I thought of as we were talking, and I'll throw it out there into the mix if people want to answer this too. In your organization or for yourself, do you have some kind of plan for professional development for yourself over the summer? Or are you not doing anything? Like, what are you doing? Janet's laughing at me. I want Janet to turn her mic on so bad, but she's not. She's going to laugh with her mic on mute.
I unmuted myself. So we just started June 1st, round 2 of the book study on Facebook with the Comprehensive Literacy for All, the Erickson and Copenhagen book. We just started. So if somebody wants to jump into that, we're only on chapter 2, and just let me know and I can get you hooked up with that. And then by the end of the summer, all of those things should be available on a website for anybody who wants to run a book study independent of Facebook.
Nice. Thank you. Awesome. Maybe I'll jump on that, Alyssa. I have that book that I'm staring at it right now because I haven't even opened it yet.
Oh, you got to read it, Mike.
I know.
I'm doing round 2 with it because it's one of those books that's worth reading for a second look. Like I read it and consumed it the first time, and now I can read it a little bit more critically and like focus on the things that I really need. And go watch the TIA videos too.
Yeah, me too. I'm trying to get the last little bit in. And I think what's so great about that group is that it is 2,500 people plus all over the world, parents, professionals, paraprofessionals. So it's a really great kind of capture of everybody's kind of perspective as they're reading through the book, because I can interpret one thing and one way, and a parent goes, hey, wait, like that's not how I'm seeing it. So it's really great to have those parents, and there's a couple of AAC users in there as well, have those different perspectives.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that. I'm going to put a link in the chat. That way I don't share the link out on social because Sarah asked me not to. But I think I shared it a couple of weeks back. Sarah Gregory sent me her little, what we deemed her sizzle reel from the past year of kind of their successes that she shared with her school. And it's pretty great. So there's the YouTube link to check it out. This idea of how to share things and how to kind of link things together, kind of the lessons learned from the year, if you will. And it's really great. I think it's about 7 minutes or so. So carve out 7 minutes for yourself to watch it. It's actually really, really good, with a lot of good ideas of how to approach the things that were learned from this year. So, all right, so we got summer book studies. I might actually go back to reading some of my work-related books that I stopped reading because I just really had enough. And so I just went to really just nonsensical books, just reading them nonstop. And so maybe I'll go back into that comprehensive literacy book that's sitting there along with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 other work-related books that I haven't read that are just sitting there in a really nice pile on my shelf. So that's my plan for the summer. What else? What's our plans?
I put in the link for anybody that has a COVID pandemic distance learning story to tell that is interested in writing an article for ATOB that's been extended to September 1st. And so I'm going to be working on actually one with Sarah Gregory about lessons learned from COVID. So
awesome. Very good. And that
Mike,
gives you another deadline. If you want to submit something to ATIA, your deadline is next week.
Mike, one thing I'm looking for is, and we've just been through a 15-month experiment, and we've been able to see firsthand which students did well on online learning and which students just did not.
Yeah.
And I think it would be kind of interesting to create some sort of a profile so you could not quite predict, but it'll help us be smarter in terms of whether kids are going to be okay on remote learning or not, and with or without disabilities.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the disability community kind of fell flat in terms of providing the supports that kids with disabilities need. And that definitely impacted the assistive technology. And we need to know how to do it better next time, because this is going to happen again. I mean, all the public health experts say this will happen again. So we should take this opportunity to like you said, take the lessons learned and be smarter next time.
Yeah. My fear though, Adam, is anyone doing that? Like, are people doing that? Like, are they taking this time? I don't know that they are. I keep looking for guidance from, and maybe that's part of the problem, is that I shouldn't keep looking for guidance from somewhere else. Maybe I should just do it.
I haven't seen it.
You have or haven't?
I have not.
No, I haven't either. Yeah, I agree. I keep looking for like our state Department of Ed to like have some kind of, I don't know, I'll just call it a listening session for right now. I don't know what I would really want to call it, but a listening session that started this kind of series of conversations about what went well. Because I agree, and Adam and I and Janet and Naomi might be the only ones, but we're from New Jersey. My fear is, what Adam said is that, there were students that did really well in this time of remote. And in our state, in New Jersey, come September, they're going to go back to the classroom. And so that kid who actually did really well is going to go back to struggling significantly come September. I have this kid's face in my head right now, and I know this is a student I work with. His mom said to me, I hope he never goes back to school. I mean, that has to be acknowledged somewhere. Mm-hmm. Because she sent me a video that she shot on her phone of him just walking the house with a Chromebook, sitting down, doing a little work, laying down on the floor, doing a little work, going in his room, doing a little work. Chromebook was open the whole time, participating in class the whole time, never in one room more than 5 minutes. But who cared? He was really participating. Looked completely different from the kid that I serve when I'm in the school. And so I worry about that kid because he's going to go back to the school and he's going to have to sit in those rooms for 45 minutes. He's not going to do well.
Mike, what about those states? And outside of New Jersey, I remember years and years ago.
Outside of New Jersey, what?
Outside of Jersey, I remember being contracted to go and do a training for Ohio and their remote state school. Like there are states that have remote school districts, and they've been doing this for years where students do not go into a brick and mortar
Right.
building.
I
So,
think Florida has that too.
Yes, Alyssa always talks about Florida having that. Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
why, if they've been doing it for so long, you would think that they would have some type of leadership that says, okay, gang, this is how you do it.
Right.
Here's how you make it accessible. This is who it works well for. Take a lesson, New Jersey, take a lesson, all you other states who don't have it.
Right.
Wouldn't that would seem to be an easy answer? Do it well, because that's all you're doing, virtual learning all the time.
Right. It seems like it, right? Because now, Janet, you think about that student I just described, his mom's only choice come September is to homeschool him. Not for him to participate virtually, but for her to homeschool him. And she doesn't want that. She can't do that. She's like, I can't do that. I don't know how to even start doing that. And that's not what I want for him. I want him to participate virtually.
I think we need to start a school, Mike.
All
Adam,
right.
I think Jersey needs a school.
That means I'm gonna have to like put shoes on and not wear shorts. All right, I guess.
I think one of the issues is when it's an all or nothing. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know what it is in Florida, although I do have a good friend whose daughter just graduated in the Orlando area, was able, as a high school student, was able to be enrolled in her high school, went for a couple of classes a day, and then did the rest of her stuff in a virtual setting. Now, I just heard, so my school district that I live in, that I used to work in for 30 years, they are starting a K through 12 virtual academy. I'm interested to see, there's certain criteria you're going to have to meet. I don't know what that's going to look like. Parents have to apply for it. And then I was hearing just on the news, when the local news was talking about things in the area, that there's another school district. It might be Lauren Bonet's school district. It might be Arlington Public Schools that is doing also a virtual academy for 3rd through K, but they're doing it where if they're in that virtual academy, then they can't participate in anything in their local school. They can't do clubs, they can't do sports, which I think is a huge disservice. Like we need, like that boy that you were describing, he might still want to be a part of the drama club or
Right.
the basketball team or whatever it is, and still have those opportunities. So yeah, I think these schools are going to be having to look more flexibly, and it's just interesting. It'd be interesting to see the data from what Florida has. And I mean, as good as data may or may not be, right? But to see what the success, the data shows for those kids that are in maybe these hybrid environments, or that are doing, I hate to have kids simply be disconnected from their local
Right.
school if that's still the community that they want to be a part of.
Right. Right. Because just saying that someone does better virtually doesn't also equal someone who doesn't want to be participatory in anything else, right? Those
Right.
two things are not exclusive. You can have both of those scenarios.
Right. Or what
and-
if the kid wants to be in person for art and for
Right.
PE
Right.
and science, but is not successful in math or reading or foreign language in their school setting?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
why can't we be more flexible?
Again, this starts to make me fearful of September, of us rolling right back into the way things were when I see kind of absolutes drop like this. In our state, when I saw that come down from the governor, this kind of absolute black or white, yes or no, in or out, that's concerning, because that tells me that we haven't really learned anything from the past 15 months. Right? We haven't taken a moment to reflect on anything, and we haven't really thought about, hey, parts of this were really good. And it could just be the fact that people don't know that. You think about why change happens. It's, squeaky wheel, loudest people tend to affect change. And I think about this mom and this student, she's not making waves in any way. She's just saying, I'm really happy with how this worked. And she probably hasn't told anybody beyond her closest friends and her child study team. Like probably only people that know that this has worked. And you almost wish that people who have had good experiences, hence our topic, would trumpet those a little bit and say, look, this was a good thing, and this was positive, and here's why. Yeah. Right. Yeah. A scout has it, talk to the governor. I mean, yeah, it might have to be. Again, that means I got to leave my office and I got to put shoes on.
And button your shirt all the way
I gotta
down.
button my shirt all the way down. I mean, come on. I have to go beyond the 3 buttons I button now. So, this scout, quite honestly, I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of commitment. All right, guys, it's the top of the hour.
Just
We've done
pick
it.
up the phone or send him an email.
Maybe the phone. That's probably best, right?
Invite him on a Zoom call.
Because who doesn't want another Zoom call, right? A couple things before we leave for the summer. Enjoy your summer. First of all, take some time, relax, go outside, don't do work. Try anyway. And I saw Scout here, and I dug up the date just to make sure I could share it with people. If you participated in the ATAC webinar that Scout did on the maker stuff, we're doing another one on July 12th. And we're calling the Maker Roundtable. People can just share and come with ideas. We can brainstorm some solutions. Scout, what else did I miss on that?
Well, for this one, I really want it to be other people coming in. I'm like, I want to start the ball rolling and sit back. It's one of the things that I liked most about our state when I presented at our state level, was just listening to people in the audience talk about what they've done and share it with everyone else.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm also looking forward to sitting back and just listening and having people share their ideas too. So come with your greatest maker solutions. Low tech encouraged. Please come.
Or your simplest, or your,
Right.
your random.
Yeah, random low techs. That's what we want. So please do that for sure. So that's on July 12th. We'll send some stuff out beyond that, but I wanted you to, that was your official save the date. And then our town halls will stop for the summer, but we will come back. We'll start back up on Monday, August 16th. And that seemed like a time by, people in some of the southern states will start a little earlier, so they'll already be in. Us here in the Northeast will be just getting ready to start. So that feels like a good time to kick off. So Monday, the August 16th is when we'll start this back up. And don't forget the Maker Roundtable on July 12th. And does anybody else have something you want to share? A date or something? No?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
The one question thing you sent out about what was good, send it to the governor.
What's that?
Send it to the governor.
Send it to the governor. One thing that was good. Oh my God. If you knew New Jersey, you'd know our governor. He's probably got other things he's going through emails beyond my what's one good thing. I might have to just
That's
go
what
there.
interns are for.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh my God. All right. Anybody else before we head out? All right, guys. Well, enjoy your summer. This has been a blast as always. And I hope I see you online over the next month, but not too much because you should be relaxing a little. So, all right, guys. Adios. See ya.